up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical, it's 2 hours nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation starting right now, taking you all straight up to lock tonight. Big boy slates, pretty big, 11 games. I feel like it's a pretty good one. I'm locked in. I have some takes. I got Andre and Tim. I believe, Andre, is this the first time you've ever had this iteration? The three of us? Have you ever done a show before?
I think I've done a show with you guys before.
Yeah, that's a bad take, Dean.
That's a bad take.
You're starting off early though, so you know you're 0 for 1. You're 0 for 1, Dean.
To be clear, it's not a take; it's just a bad memory. It's not my take.
All right.
It's not an opinion. Either it's happened or it didn't happen, and apparently it did. My bad. I forgot it.
Thanks for remembering, Dean. Thanks for remembering.
You know what I did remember, Tim? You were 2 for 2 with your taters yesterday, I believe. Maybe was it yesterday or was it over the weekend? Your taters are hot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, the taters are hot. Sunday was a hot tater day.
You see how I turned that all around?
That was good.
All right. Yeah, of course, this iteration, we killed it that day, I'm sure. I imagine. That's the way I remember it. I'm sure the chat recalls, too. They still quote the day. I hope we get Andre and Tim and Dean back together. For some reason, we don't get that iteration enough. They've been saying this. If you look at the Discord channel, it's all we talk about these days. But, all right. Tim, anything else on your mind? Anything else of note before we fully dive in here? Do you want to say hello to the chat? Yes, kindly hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all those things, all the buttons. We do appreciate that. Keep the lights on. And, yeah, if you want those taters, Tim, you have some, in the holster ready to go today?
I've got 2 taters in the holster. You know, I'm gonna wait a little bit, see if we can get some likes going. But yeah, I got 2 taters.
How do we delegate those? Because if you go like 50 and 100 and that's it, then the incentive to hit the like button's gone. I don't know what the number should be. They're your taters.
I like
do
that.
What you want with them.
I think 50 and 100 is good.
I think 50 and 100 is. I think 50 and 100 is fair.
And then if we get 150, we get $1 million parlay that I'll be posting.
I was gonna say, Andre, I don't know what you got for the people. I know you like to drop your ridiculous parlays. One of these days, it's gonna hit. You're due, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I'm overdue.
But if I'm sitting in the are you overdue though? You've been doing it for a couple of years, maybe, and mathematically, you have to live several lifetimes, I imagine, to hit. What are we looking at? An 11 leg, 12 leg? How many legs you got as far as that parlay?
I'm building it right now, so it'll probably be around 7 or 8 home runs. Let's see if we can get it going.
All right, let's do it. Oh, you're still kind of figuring it out? It's still kind of pieced together?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it's the right combo because it's all about the combinations. I have a whole list of players who I like, and then if I just, you got to make sure you put them together the right way. And if not, then obviously it doesn't hit.
How do you feel about the slate here, Andre? Yesterday, I'm not sure if you had a bunch of Strider. If you did, things did not work out for you?
I only played one. I played one lineup with Strider, but I remember I was talking to TJ and Justin about this yesterday. I said at 6:30, I said I really love Milwaukee, and I only had one Milwaukee lineup. I'm so mad I didn't get more. Yeah,
wow. Yeah, they were pretty sneaky yesterday. I was not on them. I salvaged the day because I had the dude for Boston hit a grand slam out of nowhere and. A lot of Peralta. Peralta was just absolutely ridiculous, obviously, yesterday with 12 or 13 Ks. It was a big number against that horrific Colorado lineup. Tim, how about yourself? I assume your one lineup you probably had. Maybe you didn't. You possibly didn't have Strider.
I had Reyes, and I lost by 1, Dean. So thanks for bringing that up. Thanks for bringing that up.
But how about those taters?
yeah, that was on Sunday though, Dean.
Let's talk
about Sunday.
You're only as good as your last slate, Tim, and you're not good apparently.
Yeah, the old -4 from Strider, and I missed by 1, like pretty much all around. So yeah. But I got my casual. What was it? 36 from Pablo Reyes. Isn't that what he got?
Sure.
Something like that. That was pretty bad beat for me not to win yesterday, but oh well.
Tony says cash with Strider. Shout out to Milwaukee. Yeah, and that's not the way it was drawn up, but that's how it went. Williams for Cleveland was spectacular. Reagan's was also spectacular too. This is a really interesting pitching slate. Max Scherzer's going to be the most popular pitcher, taking on an Oakland team that's pretty inept, obviously. Fly ball guy, so he should be protected by the ineptitude of the Oakland offense and also the the ballpark that's cavernous there out there in Oakland. It's still like it's still mind blowing. If you watch Oakland, I watched a little bit of Oakland last night. I don't know. I can't get used to it, Andre. That nobody's there. It's the wildest thing. These are Major League Baseball games. Like Shohei Ohtani shows up and like 12 people are in the stands. It's wild to me. I don't know. Just it's normal, but it's still crazy to me. Like nobody's in a Major League Baseball game. Like 200 people. I don't know if you watch this stuff.
No, I don't get a chance to watch it often besides the highlights whenever I get a chance, but I do see that, and it's crazy. I don't understand why people are not there, but also, Oakland's a really, really great city. They support their teams, but I think maybe because they know that they're moving to Vegas, why be attached to them now?
Yeah, and they've been jerked around for years as far as getting a new stadium there, and the owner is arguing with the as far as public funding. Yeah, it's a tough spot there. And then, like, what did they have earlier in the year? That they didn't call it a protest. I can't remember what they called it, but they showed up just to boo Oakland, basically, just to show like they're willing to. They just want to see a positive product and something positive for the future. But it's kind of a bummer because Oakland, historically, a lot of history in that franchise, in that ballpark. But
Great city.
Yeah, it's a shame, and it's inevitable. I think
I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be sad to see them go. I mean, that's a storied franchise that's just been terrible for the last few years, but they didn't always used to be that way. So it's pretty sad to see them go.
Reverse boycott. Thank you, Brian. That's what it was called. Terrence says that ballpark is terrible. It is terrible. It's the worst one in baseball. Yeah. You'll even see the plumbing issues on TV, but those have been heavily reported as well. So it's not good. It's bad news there. But what's the incentive to put money into that ballpark? It's certainly obsolete as well. But okay, well, let's dive in as far as tonight's slate. Tim, give me the screenshot because I think there's a lot of directions you can go. I'm curious what you're doing, and I assume you're making just one main lineup, so you just kind of build your own adventure and just stick to it. You really can't get 17 different paths. Do you feel confident in your path? Have you decided? You're still kind of figuring it out. How do you see this slate?
The first thing that I noticed when I looked at this slate is how hard it is for hitting. Pitching is incredibly easy. Pitching is incredibly simple. But the bats are what's really going to be – that's really tough. Even if I was MMEing, I would have a hard time allocating my portfolio into like something that I'm really, really have like high conviction with. Obviously Max Scherzer is going to be the super chalk at pitching on both sites. I think he's good chalk. I don't see any reason to really get away from that. Framber Valdez is okay, I guess, but that's a pretty tough matchup going up against Baltimore. So I think that's pretty easy pass for me. I think if he's really going to be 15% owned, I'd probably go underweight that in GPPs. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what people say about SB2. Like Cutter Crawford's getting a lot of talk. I prefer Grayson Rodriguez at SB2 at 6,900, just because I prefer the savings, and I know there's a ton of bats that I want to get to on the slate, no matter what stack I get to. So I think Grayson Rodriguez is my initial lean right now as my SB2, at least in single entry. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that in cash.
That was going to be my question. He feels like I feel much better doing that in single entry as opposed to like trusting him in cash games. I know he's a mega prospect and all that. The price is pretty good. Go ahead.
Yeah. The problem is I don't really trust Cutter Crawford in cash either. And I also don't necessarily want to double pay up at pitching, like just because I feel like I'm giving up so much opportunity cost with my hitters. Like I'm not going to be going Scherzer Valdez in cash. I'm not going to be going Scherzer Giolito in cash. So kind of like I'm not really sure where to go from there. And then I also think that, I know JP Sears is popping really hard in the bat, and I don't know how I feel about that. Like I really like to lean on the bat in cash games, but that's such a sketchy matchup. So it's like I feel like I'm almost talking myself into playing Grayson Rodriguez in cash games, but I don't know. I don't know if I can pull the trigger.
Shout out to Cardi, by the way. I know people like to give Cardi a hard time and he gets stuff, wrong. It doesn't work out, but he showed up yesterday and he's like, look, with a straight face, he told people, no sarcasm at all, that you could play Waldichuk, Ken Waldichuk in cash, and he was good.
Yeah.
Sears is certainly better. The ballpark is good to pitch in. Texas, their offense is hindered the absence of Young, so it's not the full-fledged Texas lineup. I don't know if I wouldn't. I don't think I'd play Sears in in cash games, but I think it's the craziest idea in tournaments, and it kind of like adds to that mix. I want to get your thoughts as well, Andre. But it adds that mix of Sears, and I think Kikuchi's kind of interesting, and I'm sort of surprised, and we'll dig into it. And this stuff is fluid; it'll change as the show progresses. But I'm sort of surprised at the ownership. Obviously Scherzer at 50%. That's not a surprise, but. Andre, I want to get your thoughts as far as the grand scheme, the entire slate, but also kind of surprised that Crawford's 15%, like Rodriguez at 13, Miley at 13, Kikuchi at 11. I didn't think it would be that close. I thought for some reason earlier in the day that Crawford would be separating themselves. But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe this will change. First question, Andre, your thoughts as far as the slate as a whole?
It's kind of... I think there's a lot of good spots here offensively. Pitching is I question more so pitching. I'm kind of like the opposite. I have a lot of teams that I do like offensively, but pitching wise, I'm more spread out just because we've seen probably the best pitcher in Strider get blown up. So it's like, and a lot of these pitchers lately have not been performing well, like Shohei and a couple other guys. So it's like you got to avoid the minefield. So to me, I'm willing to be a little bit more spread out, dig a little bit more deeper into these guys' stats, and figure out and actually, like, normally I don't play a price game when it comes to MLB. I don't just say, okay, I'm gonna play the best guys no matter how much they cost. But pitching wise today, like Fernando Valdez being 11K against Baltimore, I don't know if I want that. Like, just from the price standpoint, how many fantasy points is he going to get? Like, he's projected even behind JB Sears fantasy wise in the bat. So it's like, do I really need him in my player pool today? Those are the conversations that I'm having. Because the strikeout upside, is there, but also Baltimore is a very good offense.
Yeah, it's funny that I'm not saying you guys are wrong, but it's funny you guys are both poo-pooing Framber Valdez, coming off a complete game shutout, no hitter. Maddox, he wasn't even like, it wasn't like he threw like 120 pitches and maybe they'll push back a little bit as far as his pitches. He threw like 95 and gave up, I think, one walk. He almost had a perfect game. I get it. He's a little bit more expensive than Scherzer. I don't know how he's projecting less than Sears, but again, who am I to question Cardi and the bats? But as a median projection, I would take Valdez straight up. Yeah, and it's really, really hard. Like Tim said, it's hard to double down getting Scherzer and Valdez. You can do it, but at what cost to your bats? Looks like I see Kirkwood in chat. Is he hyping up? He's got to be hyping up his boy Crawford, right? I think that's what he's doing. Maybe he's not. No, I think he's not. No, Grayson. I think it's hyping up Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Against that, the price is really good. He's been better of late. He's been up and down this season. More down than up, but more up of late. That ballpark is better than you think it is for pitching. Just the way they can, they manipulated left field to try to Aaron Judge proof it as much as possible. He's certainly in the mix for me. Do you think this is ownership wise? Are you a little bit surprised, Andre, as far as these guys? Beyond Scherzer, Valdez getting 16%, then Crawford at 15, Giolito 14, Rodriguez at 13. You think somebody separates himself in that bunch?
It's probably going to be. I can imagine it with everyone talking in the industry. Probably might be maybe a little bit of Grayson. But it's also a tough matchup from against Houston too. So like that's the only guy I can think of because he's probably going to get talked up a lot, especially on these shows. I do kind of like Giolito a little bit, but 9.9 is a little bit expensive when you want to get some priced up bats here on the slate too as well. So it's you got to think about the give and take. With San Francisco, they have obviously we know their offense. They pinch hit a lot of the guys there, and the strikeout rate for them right now is 22%. And Giolito hasn't been that great in the past 30 days, but since he's been in the Angels, at least one start, I think, or two starts, he's been like bad against Atlanta, but it's Atlanta at the end of the day, and decent, not even okay against Toronto. So it's tough. I think the cheaper guys are going to probably get steamed up a little bit more. It just makes more sense, um, just from a standpoint of the slate and the way it's breaking down. And if you're gonna die with someone, you're gonna have someone that gets you 15, 20 points. You can go with someone that's in the 7K range to get you maybe 15, and you won't. It's not losing that much because you have that money to spend up on the bats too.
Tim, I didn't like what you said. You said earlier, pitching is easy. I don't agree with that.
I don't think.
I don't think it's easy to figure out which one of these. And I think you were saying a different thing. Basically, it's like one of these 4 or 5 guys, but I'm not really certain which one it is. That's kind of where I'm at too. Yeah.
I think it's a lot easier than hitting. I think there's that was kind of my point, is that there's so many good spots for hitting, so many high totals, great teams. Just to go back a little bit about ownership with pitching, I was surprised to see Wade Miley projected to be the 5th highest owned pitcher on the slate. Just because, I mean, I know it's Colorado.
You know why?
It's Colorado, but I mean, he's 7K, but I figured Sears would be higher owned. I figured Rodriguez would be higher owned. Wade Miley doesn't have much of a leash, so he's got to be really, really efficient. I know it can be done quite easily against Colorado, but I was surprised that he was going to be that highly owned.
So, what Colorado K rate as far as their active roster is versus lefties? Obviously, this is the reason that's pushing it. The second highest team in baseball, we'll say this, the third highest team in baseball, active roster versus lefties, their strikeout rate, the Pittsburgh Pirates, 24.4%. San Fran, 24%. They're fourth. Seattle separates himself. They're 27.8%. I am leading the witness here, Tim. You know what Colorado's number is as far as striking out versus lefties? Active roster?
Over 30. Well over 30, I'm assuming.
Yeah. It is over 30. Yeah.
Like 30.
31.4%.
In the past 30 days is 30 and 34 in the past 30 days. So it's gotten worse.
Yeah, but also Wade Miley. It's not great. He only strikes out. Which is worse? If you had to pick one side of it, you don't have to, obviously, but I think, Andre, you would pick Miley. If you're going to stack with Colorado or picking Miley, I think you take Miley, but you don't have to do that. You just kind of sort of ignore it if you want to. But what are your thoughts as far as Wade Miley?
I like the price point. I love the matchup. The pitch count scares me, and the fact that he can get blown up. So that's the thing. At that price though, it's probably worth the risk. So I might honestly be more. I really want to X him out because I don't want to think about it, but it's just hard to do because it's Colorado, and you have to include him at that point. So I would play him if you're MME, and I'm only running 3 lineups tonight, but I think he probably will be on one of my 3, possibly just because of the matchup. And I like taking chances, and I would make sure though I would probably pair him with an elite guy like Scherzer, who I know has a lot of strikeout upside against Oakland. That's what I would do to probably counterintuitive and give myself a little bit more upside there. Or if you really want to take a chance and then go 2 cheap guys like Miley and Grayson, or Miley and Cutter, I don't mind that either. I just probably would just make sure I have at least one 10K guy in there.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing 79 pitches is his projection. Obviously that's not ideal. This Colorado lineup, this iteration they're running out today on the season, striking out at 33.4% versus lefties. It is also worth noting here, Tim, his splits, Miley that is, he's striking out 23% of lefties, but only 15.7% of righties, which is really unappealing. And we're looking at 7 righties for Colorado. So again, he's going to get more than 15.7% of strikeouts against these guys, but are you getting enough? It doesn't sound like you're on Miley. If I heard your initial kind of opening, I guess he's on the fringe for you.
I would say, I guess what I'd say is I like Grayson more. I like Sears more. I like Crawford more. I almost kind of like Clark Schmidt more. So I mean, it's kind of like he kind of just falls to the bottom in that 7K range, or where I just don't trust it. So I mean, that could end up burning me, but I don't know. I don't like it.
The White Sox lineup is out. Elvis Andrus jumps to the top. That's not ideal because he's a contact guy. Benintendi is also a contact guy. No power from either one of those guys, obviously. Then there is some power with Robert, Jimenez, Moncada, Vaughn, Grandal, Sheets, and Remillard. It's not a great lineup, though. I never really know what to do with Clark Schmidt. He's another guy that doesn't really go deep, usually around 5-ish. If you're begging for the quality start, usually not going to get it. The K rate on the season for him, 21.8%. It's heightened versus righties, 25.7%. How many righties we get in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where do you have Clark Schmidt, Andre, as far as in the mix for pitchers for you? Is it in the outside looking in, top 7, kind of on the fringe?
On the fringe, but I'm probably going to eliminate him. He's a good direct leverage play. He's a good direct pivot, though, off of Wayne Miley because he's in the same price point. And like in this White Sox lineup is not the best, and they haven't been even that great all year, but they still have obviously some upside here in this spot. So I don't know. I'm not a big Clark Smith guy personally to begin with, but probably not.
Team.
I know. My team is just playing. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about them anymore. Like, it's. I lefties in the past 30 days, 11% strikeout rate. Like, I mean, and yeah, Moncada, who really hasn't been, who's been striking out horribly bad lately. This lineup is doable for them to get through, and they do strike out at 23% as a whole. But I can't. I probably can't do it. I have to eliminate some people from my player pool. And he's gonna just have to be a casualty because, the strikeout upside is not going to be there. I'd rather just go with Wade Miley in that better matchup.
You said you're making 3 lineups tonight. Let's say you're making like 50. I know sometimes you MMA. If you're making 50, would Schmidt be in it?
No, probably not.
Okay.
Once I cut someone out, like I still build like I'm building 75 to 150, and I just take like the 3 best based on what stacks I like a lot.
Let's see. Just taking a peek at the chat. Kirkwood's talking about the Braves and the Cubbies. Yeah, they're going to be 2 of the more popular offenses. Of course, you have to find some salary for the Braves if you want the really expensive ones. But it's every day you want to get the Braves in if you can. I see somebody asking about Jameson Taillon. I just, when I'm ranking these guys, and I'm not making a ton of lineups either. I know, Tim, you don't make a bunch of lineups either. I'm not going to say you can't play Taillon if you're running 100, but he's not making my first 10. I'm not playing Jameson Taillon. You have a thought as far as Taillon?
No, he would not make. He probably wouldn't make my first 75. I mean, maybe just like a touch if I'm making 150, but honestly, I don't even know if he'd make that cut for me.
Have you heard the Mets are gutless though? Have you heard that? Because they kind of are. They're pretty terrible.
They are pretty gutless. They are pretty gutless.
What is who's the guy they called up today? I don't think where they found him. Okay, so the Mets are building towards the future, right? Why is Abraham Almonte playing for them? He's like 34 years old when they're theoretically good. Like he's not on this team. Like, what, do they have nobody else? They can throw out some young kid out there just to see what they have. I know they just dumped Beatty and they threw him down to the minors, and maybe he was like losing it emotionally or confidence wise. They just want to get him back right and work on some stuff, but it just seems strange that why would you want Abraham Almonte out there? What's the point? But okay, Almonte, I don't think has he played baseball all season in the majors? He hasn't, right? Anybody?
I'm not sure.
So. I don't think he has, but I just don't understand. What are you doing? But okay, that lineup is bad. Outside of Polar Bear is all by himself. Lindor, he's fine. The most solid, but it falls off pretty quickly. They don't have their better catcher. It's Omar Narvaez. McNeil will give you a professional bat, I suppose. Vogelbach is just, the huskiness and the girthiness is kind of fun, but it's just he's kind of lost it as well.
I just think that 6,900 to 7,600 range is pretty loaded. So I don't feel like I really need to get cute on this slate with a $6,700 tie on. So, and we haven't even talked about Brady Singer yet. So, I mean, he's another interesting play in that price range. So, I just think that range is pretty loaded.
I don't know what to do with. I don't think he's making my cut. Tell me why I should have Singer, because what separates him from all the other guys we kind of ran off? By the way, Boston lineup is out and Trevor Story officially is back. Duran, Yoshida, Story, Devers, Casas, who's been red hot, Duvall, Verdugo, Reyes, last night's hero, and Connor Wong, the catcher. Tell me why Singer, and like you said, it's the 7K, 6K, 7K guys, and I would stretch it up to Kikuchi. I think he's the interesting pivot for me, and we'll have that conversation in a second. But tell me why Singer is somebody that's you're debating on.
I mean, I'm not debating on him for cash games, but I mean, I think he definitely worth it in an MME setting, just because, I mean, like his control has gotten a lot better. I think that Boston is going to get some ownership, so you're going to get a little bit of leverage against a chalky stack. Trevor Story's back, and who knows what he's going to be like. I just think that I think he's got the upside that he could potentially be that winning 7K pitcher, like Sears could be, like Crawford could be. So it's just I prefer him. He's probably another pitcher, honestly, that I prefer over Wade Miley, if I'm being honest. So I think if I'm playing a large field GPP, I think he actually has a ceiling, whereas I don't think Tyon has a real ceiling, and I don't think Wade Miley has a real ceiling.
Got boots on the ground. Kirkwood in chat saying that the dew point is crazy there. Just pulled it up in the weather edge. 70 dew point, 78 degrees as far as the temperature, 10 miles per hour, straight to center field. 184 similar games at this ballpark. We have an increase in homers at 11.8%, an increase in runs at 11.2%. So pretty good environment for hitting baseballs in Boston tonight. Anything else popping from a weather edge perspective? I don't think so.
It's not very big hitting stuff tonight for weather.
Yeah. New York's tricky because I don't know how this works, but how do we only have one game ever at Citi Field that has similar weather? This is not my department, but it just seems weird that this ballpark's been around for a while. Just one game, but 80 degrees. Temperature is 80, and the wind's blowing out at 60 miles per hour toward right center field. So that seems of note, just sort of throwing it out there. And the Cubs are probably my favorite offense on this slate. We'll talk about that soon enough. So that looks pretty good, mostly because Carrasco has been impersonating starting a professional pitcher this season, and especially of late. Did you have a thought there, Andre, as far as Singer?
I do not have in my player pool. That's my thought. I just not taking a chance with them today.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm not making enough lineups, so I was maybe. Do you guys, anybody like Kikuchi, or am I kind of on Kikuchi Island? I was hoping that J-Ram would not play today. He's still appealing his suspension, but there's still no Naylor, the good Naylor. Well, Bo Naylor's fine for a catcher, but Josh is out. They traded Bell. They traded Rosario. They picked up Loreno from Oakland. When Oakland gives up on you, that's a bad sign. He's got 29% strikeouts this season. So like this Cleveland lineup has typically not a lot of strikeouts, obviously, but a little bit of a boost with Loreno. And Arias is a big strikeout guy, and Naylor's a strikeout guy too. So there are some Ks. And man, I was looking at Cleveland versus lefties and their active roster versus lefties. I can't pull it up on the fly, but basically every single stat you can think of, they're like the worst in baseball. With the exception of WRC Plus, I think they're right behind. They're right in front of Colorado. I think they're bottom two. It's bad, and there's no power. Their power is worse than Colorado, and that's Kikuchi's issue, Tim. Right? Like his issue once upon a time was walks, and he's kind of like tempered that this year. And he'll give up those fly balls to righties. And who's going to get him outside of J-Ram? I suppose Gonzalez can, I guess, maybe. But I feel pretty good about Kikuchi. This Cleveland lineup is it's bad. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to make like a cash game team. And it's like, if I don't want to play Grayson and I don't want to play Crawford, like, do I go up to Kikuchi? Like, I completely understand what you're saying. Like, this Cleveland lineup is very, very weak. And then, like you said, all of a sudden they do get like these more strikeout heavy guys in their lineup. So, I mean, I really don't hate it. It just kind of, I'm going to have to try and figure it out, on the fly about, just kind of who I want to prioritize in terms of hitting, because I think Kikuchi is relatively safe in this matchup. Like, I don't see him necessarily breaking the slate in terms of tournament winning upside, but I can see him doing good enough that he doesn't necessarily hurt you either.
Yeah, Cleveland, the versus lefties, the current iteration, the lowest WOBA in baseball, the lowest ISO in baseball, the lowest OPS in baseball. Their WRC plus is the second worst, right in front of Colorado. It's still 64. That means they're 36% worse than the average team. And the third worst team is Oakland. They're at 82. Like, there's a huge gap to the third worst team. Honor, did I talk to you in Eddie Kikuchi? Is he somebody that's on one of your 3 rosters? Is he in the pool for you? Maybe he just doesn't fit the build.
He's in the pool right now. He's been good over the last few weeks lately. Has a better strikeout percentage, especially to the lefties. 36% than to the righties at 21%. Could lose a little bit of work, but the fly balls have been down a lot, as far as percentage wise, to like a 16% total only over the last few weeks. So I kind of am on. Well, I definitely am on board with him, and the walk rate has been low too. So, and the ISO's been down. So to me, he's been pitching good enough where I can have him here against a team that has not been good this season against lefties. So he is someone I think is in my pool for sure. Just trying to figure out if he's gonna make the cut to the final roster, one of those lineups or not.
I see several people in chat talking about Touki Toussaint. I know the Yankees are like rough these days, but no, we're not playing.
Honestly, I'm not playing him. Well, he's my player pool right now, but he has not been that bad the past few starts, which is shockingly. But and the Yankees, they do strike out a good amount, so it's kind of I don't know. It's hard to play. It's hard to play him and think about him, but I can see it as a definitely GPP play. Like if you're running, I say like 150 or like 75 lineups, I would dip a little bit of dip my toes in it with a little bit of Toussaint for about 5 to 10%.
See TJ hanging out in chat saying he's playing Touki Toussaint. He's probably playing in 150 or 300 lineups though. I'm curious what percentage he's actually playing of Toussaint. I mean, the one real hiccup with him is the walks, right? He's got 15.3% walks, which is just unacceptable. And Judge at 17%, Bauer's 11%, McKinney is a patient hitter. He's been lucky as far as BABIP too. Like if you look at his BABIP this year, we're looking at 221. His ERA is a little bit below 4, but his SIERA is above 5. I'm not a Toussaint believer, but he's been getting away with it for the most part this year. The K's have been okay, not great, 21%. Ground ball guy, so maybe BABIP's in his favor again, like it's been the entire season. Tim, are we spending too much time on Toussaint? I'm sure. I know you. You're making one lineup. You're not playing Toussaint. You're not messing with that.
No, and just I think the Yankees are probably my favorite stack on the entire slate. So,
wow.
But let me just say this though. Like if I was making 150, I wouldn't think that you're stupid to make a couple Toussaint teams just because he can strike out the world. I mean, he does a decent job of keeping the ball on the ground. So like I don't think it's stupid. But I just love attacking pitchers that have horrible control, because when you start walking guys, it means you have more base runners, and it just helps your stack overall. So I mean, it's just I love the Yankees. I love the top of that lineup especially. I understand that the bottom of that lineup's a little bit shaky, but I'm very high on the Yankees today. So I know that consensus is probably the Cubs, which I'm completely fine with. But the Yankees are my favorite stack for single entry.
Do you believe I have the ability to mush things, Tim? You think I have that capability? I'm setting you up here for something.
See, you do, but you have to realize that you're not doing it. Like if you consciously are mushing, then you don't have that power. But when it comes out naturally, you definitely have the power.
What a terrible superpower to have. So like, tell me how this plays out, because I in the expert survey today, I wrote my quote unquote sneaky team was the Yankees, and I was writing about it. I was gonna, yeah. So this is like, are you gonna? Are you scrapping your stack? Is that it? You're done with the Yankees?
No.
Because I'm aware of what I'm doing. I'm aware of what I did. So how do you
I need to unregister now is what I need to do.
I think as long as the Yankees are a low like they were very popular yesterday and they didn't do nothing, and I was like, yeah, those are the days you can't play the Yankees. So today, if they're not going to be that popular, I would play them.
Yeah, it's not just that like the Toussaint, I think, is due for the old regression monster knocking on the door, but I also see that bullpen for Chicago. The current iteration for the White Sox, their bullpen is bottom 5. I think they're specifically 5th in Sierra and XFIP. Of course, New York is locked in for 9. The ballpark's perfectly fine. Good ballpark for homers. Yeah. They're not my favorite team, but I like them. You know, if I'm making one lineup, it's probably not the Yankees, but I get why somebody would do that. Yeah, so I'm not here to tell you to change. Both of you.
I'm not changing, but I'm just going to go out to dinner instead of watching baseball.
I think I'm going to take a stance and go against Tukey here and ride with Tim, and my Yankees are going to have a good day today. And I think Tukey's going to give up at least 3 home runs.
Who's the most likely? So do we think Judge is okay? It's just kind of a small sample. Like since he came back from his injury, he hasn't been great. I think he has 1 homer. But is that just? Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's fine.
I think he's fine also.
Okay, because like you looked at the Alonso and it's like, oh, he came back too early, the polar bear, and then he was bad for like 3 weeks, and then he just went absolutely nuts like the past 10 days or something like that. So yeah, just worth pointing out, I suppose. But Judge has not been great since coming back, but certainly he has the ability to bang out a couple homers, and you probably want to be ahead of that before it happens.
Yeah, Judge is getting one tonight. I think Judge is getting one. I'll give out 3 of the Yankees. I think he's getting one. I think Judge, Stanton, and Powers.
Is this part of your parlay, possibly?
No, those are not a part of them. One of them will be probably, but I don't know which one yet. But it's definitely one of them will be, yeah, for sure. I think Isaiah Kenneth Alefa too. I think that's a sneaky one.
Bauer's is going to be the most popular player on New York just because he's cheap and he's leading off and he's got some power. It's like a one-off. Yeah. I think, last I checked, I think it's 2 lefties in that bullpen there for Chicago. He's vulnerable to a pinch hit if one of them comes in. By the way, we got to get those likes up. Do we have enough likes to get the fire off our first tater for the people? Tim's got those taters. Again, they're hot. 2 for 2. How do you like your crispy, right? Crispy tater.
I do like a crispy tater. You're right, Dean. I do.
What's with the mushy taters? Can we just leave it on fire for another 2 minutes or so?
Don't mush my taters, Dean. Okay. Come on. All right. So I got one. This is a pretty plain Jane tater. Okay. It's Max Muncy plus 340 right now. That's my first one. I really like the Dodgers today. If I wasn't stacking the Yankees, then the Dodgers would be my second favorite stack.
They're asking about extreme umpires. I'll get to it in a second, but we do have both TJ and Kirkwood in chat, and I see TJ talking about his lineups. I don't know if Spidey is available. I don't know if he's getting a day off finally. I don't know if TJ how hard he wants to work them, but if TJ wants to throw out some of his Spidey bombs, by all means, go for it. As we're working our way up with the likes, do hit that like button, do subscribe, answer all those notifications. We do very much appreciate that. And then Kirkwood, I don't know if he has his Juggalo bombs ready for the people. Andre's got his parlay. If we get the 150 as far as the likes, $1 million parlay. I shouldn't shortchange that. As far as umpire data, let's see.
There's no extreme yet of any data that we have. There's no extremes.
Okay, yeah. So we have a couple that have not yet been established because some series are starting anew today. Nothing for Gilbert, nothing for Fought, Urias, or Martinez, who's just going to be an opener for what it's worth. You're not playing him. It is interesting that like Gilbert and Urias are on this slate, and we're like kind of not even acknowledging them. Like they're there, they're good. They're historically pretty good pitchers, but I don't think if you want to run 150 and get them in there, sure, by all means, go for it. But it seems like we're just working in that mid tier and hopefully landing on the right guy and embracing that the variance. But that's kind of where I'm at, and I'm not here to discourage Gilbert or Urias. But Andre, I'm guessing you're not getting either one of those guys. You tell me.
I'm not playing Urias at all. Gilbert's in my player pool, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to trim it down. He right now, I love. It's a tough matchup, but he has pitched well against them, well decently against them before. But like I said, everything for me with pitching is about price right now, and Kikuchi has the upside at his price point, which is cheaper, which I think about. Then you have other guys who cost more than him, who are in good position like Giolito against San Francisco, and also the bat that's not that high on Gilbert. So might be a cross out for me, but if I'm running 150, he would definitely be in the player pool because of that. Because he still is a great pitcher and has some upside.
Dodgers lineup just came out. Betts, Freeman, Will Smith, Muncy, JD Martinez, Peralta, Hayward, Outman, and Rosario down to the 9 spot against the righty. The rookie Fought, who's mostly been a disaster this season. He finally bounced back and had the best start of his career last time out. I believe was against San Francisco. Angels lineup is out. Rengifo, Otani, Drury, Crone, Moustakis, Grichuk jumping up to the 6th spot. Well, it's against a lefty. Renfroe, Moniak, and Wallach. They're debating, Kirkwood saying waffle fries greater than tots. Does anybody want to weigh in?
I don't like tots at all, so waffle fries are the one for me.
You're out on top. If you're going to power rank like, shoestring fries or like curly fries, sane fries.
Shoestring fries are my favorite. That's
number one.
That's
really
number one for me. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And Andre, you got tots last? Dead last?
I don't like tater tots at all. My fiance loves them, but I'm just like, yeah, no. It's not
You're not tot compatible.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what's last. Potato wedges. Too much potato.
What? I love potato wedges.
Potato wedges are last. In the potato family. We're gonna power rank potatoes and things of that sort. Oh, yeah, steak potatoes, too thick. Too thick.
Those are great.
Sounds like you just like a lot of carbs. A lot of things that just have a lot of potatoes.
Well, I mean, yeah. Oh, so you're out on potatoes across the board?
No, I like fries. Lately I've been having a lot of actually curly fries. They're so good. But like I don't know, fries. I'm very picky about it. I don't I definitely don't like tater tots. Waffle fries are really, really good, especially the especially Chick-fil-A waffle fries. I think they're amazing. And fries from McDonald's when they first come out, like when they're fresh, unbeatable.
we totally spun the chat now. We're gonna be debating fries with the rest of the show until we hand it off to Crunch Time. Crunch Time coming in about a half hour or so. You got to T-Mineralogist Kevin Roth. I don't believe, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see anything dicey weather-wise unless something has changed as far as Ross updates.
This is a very, very benign weather day, both for rain and weather edge stuff. Not much going on.
Nice use of benign. That was well played. All right. Let me just go ahead and drop this. It's an underused word. I gotta work that back in the vernacular. I like it. And who I believe it's Dave Potts, right? Is it Potts and Squirrel? Am I making this up? No, I think it's Potts and SDL.
It's Potts and SDL, I believe.
There you go. It's a good tandem for sure. Okay. Is there anything else as far as pitchers in the chat? Have they thrown anybody else that I might have missed when it comes to pitchers? We've debated a lot of pitchers for sure. But hey, Keith, shout out to Keith in chat. First team take he's ever agreed with. So thank you. I'll take it. I'm just gonna stop giving takes. I have Keith Eister's approval. But yeah, I think we got everything as far as pitchers, Tim. We didn't really kind of give an official Scherzer stand. I mean, you're just going to play him. If you were running hypothetically 20 or 50, would you play 50%, 40%, more or less than our current projection? It's a big number as far as a projection. And Scherzer's, not been the Hall of Fame Scherzer this year. But again, facing Oakland, good ballpark, yada, yada. And let me ask you one more. Bybee. Tell me about Bybee.
I think Bybee's too expensive. I'd much rather kind of live in the mid range with the guys that we've already discussed. I'd rather play Kikuchi. I don't think this matchup's that great for him. So I guess he's gonna be 3%. I mean, I guess you could play him at 3% if you wanted to, but I don't think that he's that great of a play.
And your overall approach to pitching tonight, give me the rundown. Give me the, I just tuned into the show. I missed the first 40 minutes. Give me a minute or so as far as how you're approaching starting pitchers tonight.
All right. So Scherzer is 100% SP1 across the board. Don't even think about anything else in cash games. And then I'm probably going to be playing Kikuchi as my SP2 in cash games. And then when I make my single entry primary team for GPPs, I'm probably going to go Scherzer and Grayson Rodriguez. I think Cutter Crawford's interesting also. But mainly it's going to be Scherzer, Kikuchi, and Grayson for me.
So are you going to be DMing when this Kikuchi thing goes awry? You're blaming this on me? Because I don't want to say I kind of sort of talked you into it, but I feel like your interest has peaked a little bit as the show has progressed.
Yeah,
Don't put this on me.
I always gonna blame you, Dean. That's just how it's always gonna be.
All right, fair enough.
I'll never forget when you black clouded one of my biggest NHL bets I've ever made.
Because you bet against the Panthers? Don't do that.
No. We had an over on some random game, and it was over 6.5. They scored 6 goals in the first 2 periods, and all we needed was 1 goal. In the last period, Dean was like, and Dean DMs me and goes, "Man, great bet, man, great bet. I tailed you. I tailed you." And sure enough, it stayed.
I was collecting
4-2. At
the window.
Yeah, exactly. Sure enough, it stayed 4-2. I'll never forget that ever.
Small sample though. That's a one independent event.
True. True.
Yeah, I feel like Cardi. I need 9,909 more times to redeem myself until you can draw a real legitimate conclusion. Andre, what is your conclusion as far as tonight's pitching slate?
It's tough. Play who you like and who you want, as Blender would say. But for me personally, I'm living kind of in a lower range or mid range, but going a little bit different. I like Giolito, so Giolito would be there along with Max Scherzer as the top guys I do like, as well as Kikuchi. Got a little bit of JP Spears, which you didn't touch on, only because he's in that pitcher's park in Oakland. Wade Miley has entered my player pool officially, and Grayson Allen is probably the best cheap pitcher on the slate to go with at 6,900.
I can't wait.
Grayson Rodriguez. Sorry, I said Grayson Allen. Wow.
Got basketball in the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to slide into Tim's DMs tonight. Kikuchi, 9 strikeouts, first 3 innings, and saying, yeah, perfect game, 27 strikeouts. Let's do it. All right, I hope you played him. And then things go awry. Looking forward to that, Tim. Hey, we're going to talk stacks in just a second. Do fire up your questions in chat, though. We have plenty of time to get to your questions. If you have any questions in chat regarding the slate, general topics, by all means, fire them off. We want to hit as many as possible before we hand it off to crunch time. Do give us details. Let us know if you're playing in tournaments or cash or on Fanduel or in Draftkings. By the way, if you're playing on Fanduel, the single entry series that moves on, I think it's the $3 variety. I know definitely the 222 is happening in the R1BB 5. There's 2 different versions of it tonight in this week. I will be for sure dumping my score of 50 points I got yesterday in the 222. With my Strider lineup, that did not work out for your boy. But I
think you may have beat me, Dean.
We mushed each other. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be counting my score. Or if I am, I'm in a lot of trouble if I'm counting my score from yesterday. Do want to mention, shout out to Stat Hero, unique fantasy sports platform. You know it, you love it. They allow users to compete against the house instead of other players in a particular contest. The Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, that is still going on. Join this free-to-play contest and win to start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. Build your streak, win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and the cash prize, $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. Promo code to get y'all started, it's Grinders, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Promo code, once again, it's Grinders, 50% deposit bonus up to $250 over there on Stat Hero. Tim, have we got the swag for you just yet? Is it on order? Is it coming to Maine? Is it coming via boat?
Must be lost in the mail.
Oh, we gotta take care of you. We gotta, I thought we were getting something for you to represent. But all right, well, soon enough. Send an email. You probably already have. I don't know. I know we discussed this off air once, but somebody's out there listening. Let's take care of Tim. Let's make it work. All right. Oh, also, I did want to mention this too. Just got this one. NFL Premium. NFL. It's like 28 days away from kickoff. I'm even doing some best balls. Get excited. NFL is already here, and we're ready more than ever with our team of experts and suite of tools. Let RotoGrinders handle the legwork so you can work less and win more this NFL season. Get access to everything we have to offer at a special discount available only to those without an RG subscription. Okay. You can get a full season subscription for $50 off at a limited time price of $375. I believe, I guess it's an a la carte piece there. If you just want NFL, you can get the NFL a la carte. And currently there's a sale going on, $50 off, $375 for a limited time offer. There it is on the screen right now. Obviously, you can get the bundle. It includes everything with the exception of NASCAR. But if all you want is NFL a la carte, there you go. Have at it. All right, stacks. I'm going to throw it to you, Andre. We've kind of touched on some of the hitters as we were talking about some of the pitchers. Do you want to talk about some of your favorite stacks on the board? I'll tell you this. According to myself, Kirkwood, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. He'll be on in 15, 20 minutes. And Squirrel Patrol, some really, really sharp people. I'm included as well. Let's see. We have our stacks and our rankings. Atlanta's number 1. The Cubbies number 2. Dodgers number 3. Yankees number 4. Boston number 5. Milwaukee, San Diego, then Kansas City. A little bit of love for KC. How do you feel about those rankings, Dre? Again, Atlanta, Chicago. That's the Cubs. Dodgers, Yankees, Boston. Do you like that board? Is it anything too high? Anything too low? Anything you want to kick off the board? Anything you want to introduce to it? How do we feel about tonight's current rankings according to our consensus amongst myself, Kirkwood, Dave Potts, and Squirrel?
I don't mind it at all. For good reason. It's good because one of my favorite teams is not on the board, which is going to be the Milwaukee Brewers again. Against Freeland, so I will be going with them. I think they should probably be there instead of the Yankees, just because I want the Yankees to be a little bit more sneakier. But I understand with Tucson and how he is. But the only thing I would change is I think also the Dodgers. The Dodgers are ranked third, if I'm correct.
Yes, yeah, against Fox.
He's
been rough.
I might move them up. Because I probably would just move them up. But I understand probably from also a price perspective too, is probably considering in this too. So they're fine, but I personally probably would move them a little bit higher. But I would just also add, like I said, add Milwaukee in there as well.
Yeah, I think one person did say Milwaukee. If I didn't say it, my bad. Actually, a couple people rank Milwaukee 5th. So they're consensus-wise, they are the 6th team. Your thoughts here, Tim? I know you touched on the Yankees being possibly one of your favorites. Atlanta, the Cubbies, the Dodgers, Yankees, Boston, Milwaukee, San Diego, and KC.
Yeah, I like Jay's call on the Brewers quite a bit. I'm very, very high on the Dodgers. Atlanta's obviously, they're the best offense in baseball, but they're also extremely expensive. I wouldn't mind getting to like a couple, maybe one-offs of Atlanta or something like that. I don't know if I want to do a full stack. I think they're just they could be hard to fit sometimes. So they're just tough, but obviously amazing. And then I think the Cubs, like, obviously, like, going up against Carlos Carrasco, that's an absolutely smash spot. I know that it's a ballpark downgrade for them going into Citi Field, but I don't really care. It's still Carlos Carrasco, who's got to be. I mean, he's so far gone right now, and we know the Cubs are just mashing the ball right now. So I love the Cubs. I think that they're cheap enough too that you can get exposure to them in cash games, like Ian Happ at 3,400. I think he should be in your cash game lineup.
Yep.
Mike Talkman also 3,500. He's cash game viable. So this stack is very, very playable. Nico Horner plus 900 to hit a home run. I know he's not a big power guy, but I just love this matchup, and I saw those odds, and I think that that'd be an interesting play. So plus 900 on FanDuel, I think is pretty interesting.
You got me looking up Morel's odds. You happen to have that off the top of the head, or I can find it. It's not a big deal.
I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites on the Cubs.
It was
kind of buried in that lineup.
It wasn't that good because I was he's plus 360.
I see him plus 425 at Caesars, plus 360 at FanDuel, according to scores and odds.
All right, so I'm seeing plus 425 at Caesars.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. You mentioned Carrasco, like the Mets. They dumped Verlander, they dumped Scherzer. They're thinking about the future. They got themselves a few more prospects going forward. They were trying to get rid of Carrasco. I think he's a free agent as well. But once upon a time, an elite pitcher in the league, but that's so long ago. He had a good run, but it's over. 21 earned runs in his last 15 innings. He's been a negative score his last 3 games. Just been getting absolutely shellacked. I want to pick on him with the Cubbies, and just kind of it's that push pull of Morel being buried in the 7 hole, but also, and he's expensive. But as far as Cub stacks, he's not going to be one of the more popular Cubs. Talkman and Happ and Bellinger. Go ahead.
And to be clear, just so everybody knows, it's just I think the Yankees are going to be lower owned, so I'm willing to make that pivot in my single entry team. But in a vacuum, I think the Cubs are a better play. I just think they're going to be higher owned. So it's can I get a lower owned Yankee stack that has pretty much the exact same team total at lower ownership, and that's just the route that I'm going. But I think really, I think the Cubs are probably a better play in a vacuum.
That's where I'm at as well. All right, we have some questions loading up here in chat. By the way, we're at 100+ likes, which means it's tater time. What do you got for us?
Nico Horner plus 900.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And Dre, we got the parlay coming at 150. Dre, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, 150. Get the parlay coming. I'm almost done with the 2.
And 125, I believe, is the number that TJ hanging out in chat for Spidey. Spidey bumps at 125 likes. So do hit that like button. And I'm not sure did we get in Juggalo bumps from Kirkwood hanging out in chat? Not really certain on that.
I believe he does honey hole homers now.
What?
Yeah, you don't know about this?
I don't.
Yeah, it's honey hole homers. That's the new thing.
Well, it's not officially new until producer Steve has a graphic for it, and I don't see a graphic pop.
Well,
I know he's got a Juggalo bomb graphic.
I'm pretty excited to see that graphic. So,
well, Steve's got 10 minutes. Good luck.
Yeah.
He was not ready for this assignment, unfortunately. How could you be prepared for such a thing? Okay, I see some questions here loading up in the chat. Fire them away. I'm going to jump back to where I missed some. So if you asked and I neglected it, it wasn't personal. I just happened to miss it in chat. I'm buying myself some time. You're talking about Gavin Cheats. Several people talking about Gavin Cheats buried in the 8 hole today. Nick Iski? Who's that? Do I know who that is?
I'm not seeing what you're talking about.
It's like a Roth, like a fake name. I'm going to get hit on. Esaki? I don't know. Is that a real person? I don't know who that is. I have to Google. But I feel like, hold on a second. No, somebody got me, I think. This is a 63-year-old baseball player. I don't know. I don't know what team he's on, but
Why are people talking about Gavin Sheets?
I don't. Well, I think Kirkwood started it. Might be his honey hole play of the day for all we know.
Oh, all right.
I think he's super cheap. So Andre Joseph wants to know Miley or Crawford. See, the thing is, I thought Crawford was going to be more heavily owned. That was one of the reasons why I was okay getting away from him. But if he's going to be basically the same as everybody else, I might gravitate back to Crawford. You tell me, Crawford or Miley? Who do you prefer?
That's tough. I'm going to say Miley just because the matchup is better, but it's still tough.
All right. So Tim, Earl Pep Tyson wants to know the best FanDuel pitcher, however you want to answer, however you want to define as best.
I know it's pretty square to say, but I think it's Scherzer by a mile. So
let's see. Apparently, Big Meat Pete Alonso, the polar bear, has got some BVP. We don't have Chop on the show today, but we don't have access. I'm not privy to his BVP model. I don't know if you guys are. I don't know him well enough. Unfortunately, he doesn't trust me with the secret sauce. But now I'm curious what his BVP happened to be. Wait, he's 0 for 0. He's never faced Jameson Taillon. Are people just making stuff up in chat today? Is that what's going on? What's happened? Why did I fall for that one too? I just assumed it was a trusted source. All right, so Andre, Brewers mini stack. Is that too chalky on DK for tournaments? Alan wants to know. I don't think so.
That's not going to be chalky at all. I like that as a full stack. Go full.
I really like the Brewers too, for what it's worth, and I don't think they're going to be that chalky. I think their ownership's going to be really spread out with hitting today.
Kirkwood wants to know best cheap catcher. I assume he's asking for DK. Is the Pirates rookie in there? I know earlier
he's not.
Oh.
And I was going to play him, and he's not. So I'm struggling with that also. Honestly, I don't know what he defines as cheap, but like Connor Wong might be the guy. I don't see maybe Victor Carantini would be okay. I'm probably gonna go Wong.
Gomes is 3-2. That's probably not cheap enough. I was thinking Huff for Texas, but the problem is he's a goner, very likely a goner. Well, first of all, we don't know he's in the lineup, but he might be in the lineup. But I think he was 2K last night. I assume he's 2K again. Have not looked. But once a righty comes in, he'll come out for Jankowski or something like that. So
for what it's worth, we don't have him projected in.
Yeah. We didn't last night either, but yeah, and he was DHing.
Well, all right, whatever, Dean. All right. I'm just trying to help the people out here. That's
no. I don't know if he's going to play or not. I'm just trying to find somebody because I don't know who I'm going to play either. If I'm going to flat out punt catcher, if money wasn't a thing, I'm curious, Tim, who would be your catcher?
If money wasn't a thing,
I guess it's Will Smith, right? That's an easy question.
Yeah.
We got Darno instead of Murphy. He's been spectacular this year. Tougher ballpark for righties than it is for lefties there in Pittsburgh. Perez is back and probably the cheapest he's been all season. And Crawford's kind of reverse splitsy, and that monster is out there toward left field. So I don't mind Sal Perez. I assume if he's in this lineup, he's feeling fine. You have any cheap thoughts here as far as catcher, or just catcher in general, Trey?
Catcher wise, a cheap catcher. I don't mind. If you're doing a part of a mini, like one-offs, or we're talking one-offs, we're talking like full
just
stack.
In general. Yeah.
Just one-offs. Just one-offs.
Okay, just one-offs. Oh gosh, cheap wise. See, I still like Jansen, even though I know he could. I mean, that's pretty cheap at 32. But if you want to go cheaper, Yasmani Grandal. Jason. Delay. I'm not going to roster him. Actually, you could in the stack, but not as a one-off.
Yankees is really cheap.
Yeah. I don't know. I like his yoga. He does hit home runs too. So they're not actually. I don't know. Let me refresh my thing because it says NA on my end for him still. But yeah, that's as far as cheap catcher wise. Yeah, he probably is the best one off Kyle.
All right. Let's see. Tim, Brian wants to know, I love Cutter Crawford tonight. Very underrated. He plays Kansas City. Whether to some people might avoid him. Okay, so Brian's no real question here. Yeah, I like Crawford too. It's weird because earlier in the day I just thought I wasn't going to play him because of ownership mostly, and just a lot of guys similar price point that I like basically the same. But I might end up going back there. Have not finalized my lineups just yet. Let's see. Any interest in Yanni today? I don't think so. We're not playing. Yeah, that's not happening, right? There's just too many like at least competent enough pitchers. I can't imagine rostering Yanni Chirinos. That's not happening.
Yanni
right?
Chirinos, we have projected for 78 pitches at 6,500. I mean, this whole 65 to 8K range is pretty loaded. So there's no way that I'm going to sacrifice pitch count, even against the Pirates. So no.
Jose in chat saying Nick Martinez in cash. No. You can't do that. There's no you cannot do that. Like you're an adult, you can make your own decisions. You're not just don't do that because he's going to play 2 innings.
Yeah, we have it projected for 35 pitches.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. Eric says, "Are the Royals chalk? I love them tonight." No.
No.
Is there anything that's really, really chalk if we're getting down to it? Like I think offensively, there's enough teams, right?
That's why hitting I think is so hard. Like no matter how many teams you're making, it's hard for me to figure out exactly kind of like what the field is going to be doing. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be any kind of condensed chalk with hitting.
Dre, I have several stacks being thrown out. Can you power rank these 3?
Yeah.
Diamondbacks, Angels, Pittsburgh.
What are we using these stacks for? Secondary stacks?
I'm just a vessel. I'm just asking on behalf of chat.
It was Diamondbacks, Arizona, and who else?
Diamondbacks, Marte by the way in the lineup leading off for what it's worth. The Angels and Pittsburgh.
If any one of them, probably maybe the Angels. If any one of them, that I would probably go with, and it would be probably Angels, Pittsburgh, and then Arizona.
In the chat's talking about McCann. I guess that's kind of the conversation we're having when it comes to catchers earlier. I mean, yeah, I know once upon a time people would call him a lefty masher, but Valdez is not really a pitcher I like to pick on. That ballpark is terrible for righty power there in Baltimore. Valdez is a certifiable like ground ball machine. The best thing, the nicest thing you can say about McCann is he's cheap, and that's that. But like, I don't feel good about McCann, but whatever. He's just so cheap. Let's see. Tim, who's the guy? Is there a guy or a stack or something that you're missing out on for whatever reason? It's not making your build. You have your build basically set, and you'd love to have him on your team, but because of salary reasons, just the way the build's working, you don't have it. Who's the one you're most afraid of not having?
Brewers. Like William Contreras, Willie Adames. Yep. I think they're in a really, really good spot tonight. But I only play one team, and I have to make sacrifices, so they're gonna miss the cut. But I really like them.
Same question for you, Andre.
Team that I'm afraid of missing out on.
Yeah. By the way, Adames out of the lineup again for Milwaukee. He was.
He is.
Traded. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
I mean, I still like them though. I personally still like them, even without him, Willie in there. Even it would help that he's in there, but I still think that they're a good lineup with him without him there. I like Tyrone Taylor, has a lot of power. Contreras, Bryce has been playing well too lately. So I still would have them pretty high for me. But a sneaky team that I'm afraid I'm gonna be missing out on is probably, I'm gonna say the Yankees. I don't think I'm gonna play them.
You're not playing them. You're not playing your Yankees.
I don't think so. I don't think I should. I might change my mind, but I really don't think I'm gonna play them today. I think I'm gonna probably go with the like my three teams are gonna be the Dodgers, definitely Milwaukee, and the Cubs, and I'll just try to figure it out from there.
By the way, not just Adames, but also Santana out of that Milwaukee lineup. That is a funky Milwaukee lineup.
Yeah, I was just looking
Contreras,
at that.
Canna, Taylor batting cleanup. I mean, I'll tell you, there's some, like as a mini stack, there's some good value, like Weimer in the 6-hole.
Mhm.
You mentioned possibly Caratini at 2.7 if you don't have the salary for Contreras. It's pretty weird. Taylor certainly has some power. There's some pinch hit risk there amongst a couple of those guys, but Freeland's not somebody we're afraid of. They have a team total above 5, one of the few teams that do on this slate, but I wonder if that total went down because that lineup is kind of funky. Mitch Keller thrown out in chats. Like, there's so many pitchers that are rosterable. Like, why am I taking the scenic route and picking on the Braves? Like, can he get there? Sure, but I can't justify that. There's no way. There's no chance I'm doing that. Steve says the Braves lost 3 in a row. Keller about to pay. Okay, so all right. I don't know if it works that way, but maybe we'll see. Let's see. Anything else of notes in the chat that they're asking about the Camden? Yeah, Camden, they manipulated the fences last year, I believe it was, where they moved left field back like, I don't know, 5 or 10 rows. It was a drastic change. And it's hard where, fly balls just kind of die out there in left field. So it's not the best ballpark for righty power. Official love for Diamondbacks. I know we asked Andre about it. Again, I mean, do you want to pick on Julio Urias? Like, it just seems unnecessary unless you're running, 100 lineups. You can get yourself a Diamondback stat, have at it, I suppose. I guess I like Marte leading off. The first 5 pretty solid. But Tim, like, how many lineups do you have to make until you make a Diamondback stack?
I'd say more than 50.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at.
I mean, if I was playing like a 20 max, I wouldn't be playing any of them.
Jacob says no Padres love. Like, again, Gilbert, pretty solid pitcher. Padres have some good hitters, and you're going to get to Tatis at, I haven't looked at it, like probably 2-3% owned, something goofy like that. But I don't think I'm playing the Padres. Dre, you have a thought as far as San Diego?
They would be fine for like one-offs, I think, but not a full stack for me.
That's pretty much where I'm at too. Still waiting for Texas. Still waiting for San Diego. I think everything else is in. We should be getting crunch time in here momentarily. The Taters, it's actually on the scroll. The Taters are scrolling for the people. Dre, do we get enough likes for the people to fire up the parlay? I know you like to tweet that out.
How many are we at? Yeah.
116. 116.
Oh, come on. I said 150.
Yeah, well, that's not enough.
It's not enough.
They're not going to get it. I went to UCF, and I can do that math in my head. I'm fairly certain 116 distinctly less than 150. TJ was talking about dropping some Spidey bombs at 125. We're not even at 125, which is frankly embarrassing. And that's on me. I'll take the L. That's my bad. I apologize. Maybe Crunch Time can do better. Maybe Roth can do better and hype up those likes. We have Dave Potts. Cheese is good. Super, super excited about best ball season. I saw him talking about it there on the Twitter. Get those Cleveland stacks, Dave. And then STL cards as well. What's up, Roth? How are things? Pretty quiet day for your weather reports. As far as
I mean, I'm watching Boston, a low chance of a delay or late start, but that's it. And I like it that way.
Yeah. All right. Anything else eventful going on in your world? Anything else worth saying? Anything else worth throw out to the people?
No, I have nothing. I have nothing.
Oh, you know what? I have something. I was going to respond. I saw you were tweeting about. I guess you're doing like you're making pork at home. What are you trying to do? You're trying to shred up some
my whole pork. It was a disaster.
But there was something else you said in the comments that I took. I wanted to call you on, and you tell me. Maybe I'm wrong, but you said that your ribs are a 10 out of 10, and you make them in the stove or the oven. And I would argue there's a ceiling on ribs in the stove or the oven. The ceiling is like 9. There's a cap. It's like, in the Olympics, you make a perfect dive, but it's not a top dive. You can't get a 10.
I think that's fair. All right, they're like a 9 out of 10. They're pretty damn good. Like, they're delicious ribs. But you're right.
Let me tell you guys this while we're on it, and I want to eat Roth's ribs, and I believe they're going to be amazing. I will tell you guys that last weekend, I spent a good long time watching YouTube videos, and I made finally some ribs in my big green egg.
Okay,
that is some next level stuff.
I have one of those.
Oh, it's really difficult.
Amazing.
It's only the third time I've made something in it. It's a learning curve. Check back in the fall, but it was Oh, it was so great. I hope made my own little dry rub. It was incredible. You're all invited next time. I will let you know.
Good.
And they were better than the last time you made them in the oven, I assume, right?
Yeah, they really were. Yeah.
I'm curious to try oven ribs though, but
they're delicious. I'm gonna send you the recipe. They're freaking amazing. Like they're really, really great. But you're right. They're got to be able to smoke over 10 out of 10.
Dre, Tim, anything else before you step aside and make way for the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time?
Oh, I think I'm good.
They say we got 150 right now. Oh, they got to 150 that fast? Okay. I will post it out there on Twitter in like 5-10 minutes.
There you go. The people that know your Twitter, is it underneath you or no? I'm not really sure. I don't believe it is. There it is. Just popped up.
There it is right now. Well, right there.
For myself and Dre and Tim. Tim, you're welcome. You're welcome. I was Dean. We got the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time, Kevin Roth. We have Dave Potts, and we have STL Cards. Take it away, Roth.
Let's do it. Welcome to it. It always gets all sluggish right at the stop. Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time, joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz, a couple OGs as well. Two folks who've been with RotoGrinders longer than I have, and I've been doing it for like 10 years. One, Mr. Dave Potts. What's up?
And what's amazing, when you think about how long RotoGrinders has been around, Cards was here like 20 years before I started. And I've been around a while.
Yeah. I feel like the three of us combined, we've got like 40 years in RotoGrinders easy, right?
You just called us the old dudes. We're all the old dudes.
Pretty much, yeah. Anyways, how you feeling, Cheese?
I'm fine. It's one of those super jumbled slates where almost anything is like, yeah, that's fine, and almost nothing is fantastic.
Okay, those can be fun, in particular in tournaments, and that is an STL Cards specialty. Cards, how you feeling about the slate, and how are you doing?
Yeah, doing fine. I had a nice little getaway last weekend, so refreshed, ready to go. I had some time along the beach on Lake Michigan, had some ice cream in honor of Cheese, taking my place in writing for me over the weekend. So it was good.
Thanks for nothing, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll send you some melted stuff after the fact. But yeah, I had to have some ice cream. Whenever you're on vacation, you got to have some ice cream. But it was good, and I kind of agree with Cheese on this slate. It's just a bunch of jumbled stuff that there's going to be several options pretty much everywhere, and it's not going to take much to have a slightly differing opinion that maybe changes your whole roster construction, and it doesn't necessarily mean that one person is right or wrong. So really interesting slate for a big one. Usually you get 10 plus games and you get maybe more crystal clear dividing lines than what we have tonight, but yeah, we'll see what comes up.
Okay, that sounds fun. It sounds like there's going to be no chalk, but we'll figure that out in a bit. Let's start with a little weather talk. And Cheese, I will ask you, do we have interest in pitchers in Boston?
Yes, a little bit. Yes.
Okay. I think that's the only spot where things could go wrong. Joe says, how's the weather at Cheese's house? I think it's good. I don't think we have to worry about Cheese getting struck by. Did you ever find out where that lightning strike hit, Cheese?
Yeah, it was like the house next door, like kind of the back of my backyard, the back corner on the other side of the fence.
It's insane. Well, I'm glad you're okay. There's a low chance of a delay in Boston. I think if anything, they might have a brief late start. Pitcher's very likely going to be okay. It's a quick little nothing. And bats are 100% fine. And that's it for the weather talk. So with that, let's dive into the pitcher talk. Cheese, I will let you take it away, sir.
All right. So basically, kind of the only two things anywhere on this slate that kind of stand out are Max Scherzer and Framber Valdez, and really kind of even only Max Scherzer. Like, this is the one thing anywhere on the slate that's kind of obvious chalk is Max Scherzer. I do think Valdez is an interesting pivot just based on the fact that Scherzer is almost certainly going to be 4 times his ownership. And I mean, Valdez is probably not going to throw another no-hitter, but that he can do that. That's the kind of guy. You should never be stunned when he throws, 7 or 8 innings, 1 or 2 runs, and a strikeout per inning. But Scherzer's the good chalk. I think Valdez is excellent if you have all kinds of money for some reason. And then it's dart throwing, nonsense. I will tell you, I will kind of reiterate what I said in the musings, that the whole sort of upper mid tier, which is guys who are like 9 to 10K on DraftKings, and like around that 9 to 10K range on FanDuel for the most part, like Tanner Bybee, Logan Gilbert, Julio Urias, Mitch Keller, Lucas Giolito on DK. They're all just out for me. Like, it's weird pricing for who those guys are. I wouldn't yell at you for playing any of them. Like, they're probably all just slightly better than the cheaper stuff that I'm about to mention. But I just like, they're just not anywhere near Scherzer. And it's not that much harder to get Scherzer. So I'm just saving money, which means we've got this weird little group of on FanDuel, we can throw Lucas Giolito back in there because he's cheap. You've got Kikuchi on DK is my favorite, 8,200. Not cheap, but cheap enough. Then I like Cutter Crawford and Grayson Rodriguez. I've got a little Clark Schmidt. JP Sears is the guy that I'm most torn on the whole slate because I love JP Sears. Like, I'm certain there's not a person here who is a bigger JP Sears fan than me. But I still like Texas is so good at baseball that he drops to the very bottom of that list for me. Along with Wade Miley. It's interesting because he's facing Colorado, and Colorado is the worst. But he's his second start off the IL, and he threw 60 pitches. Like, I think 75-ish is like best case scenario. Like, there's literally no upside here, even against Colorado. So he's also kind of below that Rodriguez, Schmidt, Cutter Crawford range for me. But like, all those guys are just mix them up and throw them in a blender. And like, I'm just kind of throwing darts at all of them.
Okay.
But officially, if I had one lineup,
yeah,
it would definitely be Scherzer, Kikuchi on DK, and Scherzer or Kikuchi, or all the way down to Grayson Rodriguez on FanDuel.
Okay, very good. Cards, how are you handling this pitcher-wise? And if you don't mind starting with FanDuel and moving to DK.
Yeah, so what's tough about it is because of the aforementioned discussion of Scherzer, you're getting Scherzer at 40+% projected ownership on FanDuel, where you only get one pitcher, and 50% plus projected ownership on DraftKings, which is always a little bit tough to stomach in GPPs with baseball, except for the fact that, you know, pitching is where you can tend to get some type of floor. So I'm not just going to sit out here and on a slate where there's not a lot of similarly priced upside options say that you can't play Max Scherzer. I do think that it probably makes sense to take a stand on him. Maybe that stand for you is hitting the lock button. You know, I think if you're just playing 10 lineups and you say, oh, I'll play 40 or 50% Scherzer, given the nature of this slate, unless you're, you know, doing something really wacky with your second starting pitcher on DraftKings or with an off the board stack, I just don't know if I love going that level with the field approach on Scherzer tonight. And I will probably end up being underweight. That's also generally because I have a little bit higher risk tolerance than maybe some people do if they're building GPPs. I'm not going to argue with you if you say I'm just going to play Scherzer in every lineup. I just think that he's the guy you probably want to take a stand on one way or another. He is facing Oakland. Oakland's team total is only like 2.8 runs. So by all means, play Scherzer. I think the pivot to Valdez is fine. I don't mind playing a little bit of Giolito even on DraftKings, mainly for the GPP potential, given that, you know, we've got Scherzer at like 52% ownership right now, and we've got Giolito at 15. As Cheese mentioned, he'll be a lot more popular on FanDuel, relatively speaking, just because he's a little bit cheaper over there. So Giolito will make my GPP pool on both sites. But I agree on kind of ignoring the rest of that high to mid-tier range where I think you can really potentially get some upside in GPPs tonight is by going the double cheap route on DraftKings or the single cheap route on FanDuel. I like Cutter Crawford a lot. I think in terms of my exposure versus the rest of the field, he's probably the guy that I will be the most overweight on. Has shown really good control. Generally a bit limited in terms of how deep they'll let him go. But given that the Red Sox are running out like openers every other day, maybe they start to let him go a little bit deeper. They did have like 2 full-on opener / bullpen games over the weekend. He is 7,900 on FanDuel, maybe a little less appealing there, 7,600 on DK. I think you can make a case for Sears as well, who Cheese mentioned. I prefer him over the Clark Schmidt, Wade Miley in that range. And then Rodriguez is the guy that I do really like for tournaments. Shown really good stuff. He has had difficulty translating it to long-term success at the big league level so far, but the minor league numbers were spectacular. He's been better his last couple of starts, and those have come against AL East opponents. Each of his last 3 starts have been against AL East opponents, so it's not like Houston is that much more difficult of a matchup than what he's been facing previously. He's under 7K on both sites. So if you go with some combo of Rodriguez, Crawford, Kikuchi, that's the group that, okay, you can do that, and it opens up so many doors with your bats, and then basically you're hoping that, Valdez doesn't throw another no-hitter, or Scherzer doesn't, get 12 Ks tonight. And if all the pitching scores are kind of bunched together, then your cheap starting pitcher route can, I think, make it to where you can spend more with your bats and potentially get, that Atlanta stack or some high-end pricey stack that not as many people are going to have that are prioritizing Scherzer tonight.
Nice. If you had to pick 2 cheapies for a GPP, let's say single entry, Crawford and
Rodriguez probably. Sears would be third.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about some of the stacks here. And I've already got a question in the YouTube chat that says, I think every video I've watched from different companies are fading the Yankees. Why? First, are you fading the Yankees? And second, is that a thing?
Go ahead, Cheese. I know you talked about that today.
No. So basically, they're my number 4 stack. They're very boom or bust, and I like them way more as a full stack than just picking out bats. But I think to say you're fading them is kind of weird.
Okay. All right. Well, we will not be fading them then. Did get a question here real quick from Robbie. He says, Roth, what's the weather issue in Boston? Does it affect Cutter? I didn't realize that was where he is. I would say not enough that I think you should do anything about it. Yes, there's a chance for an early delay, but it's more likely they don't delay. It's more likely they late start. It's more likely he comes right back out. There's a lot of ways it could go right and only a few ways it could go wrong. So while it's not perfect, I think it probably works out okay in that spot. Is essentially where I'm at with the Boston thing. Let's dive into some of the stacks here, Cards.
No, that's fine. And I sent that one question over to Cheese. So part of what makes the value pitching route my preferred approach tonight is because the cheap-ish stacks with higher totals, I don't really like them. Like I heard and obviously not to say anything bad about the guys on the last show, but it's a common theme tonight of people talking about the Brewers. And I get it that they're facing Colorado and Kyle Freeland isn't great by any means, but have we all not seen this team hit against left-handed pitching all year? They're horrible. And, they went and got Mark Canha, but Mark Canha isn't a number 3 hitter. And Tyrone Taylor's good as a bottom of the order guy, but he's not a cleanup guy. They don't have Adames in there. It's just the lineup does not inspire much confidence.
Just say the word. It's nonsense.
It's nonsense. Was it Dean that said it? Come on, Dean.
No. Well, I mean, you see a lot of people kind of talking about him today. And I don't see it. I get it. The team total is 5 runs and they're cheap, but like outside of Yelich and Contreras, who do you feel comfortable with in that lineup? So don't be the person that stacks Milwaukee and plays Scherzer tonight, because you're not going to be the only person doing that. If you want to take a one-off bat, maybe you take one of their cheap bats and hope you get lucky with the one guy that does something. But they scored a pile of runs last night. I think their global ownership will be a little bit higher than what we have them projected. So I'm out on the Brewers. I'm kind of out on Boston. I'm kind of like Cheese in that I respect Brady Singer a bit more than the average person does. I also like Sears a little bit too, so I'm not super high on Texas. Like these are, and Texas isn't really that cheap, but I want to get. I think you're going to get one explosive performance tonight by one of these high-end offenses. That's just so much harder to fit if you're playing Scherzer, if you're playing Valdez. So somebody like obviously the Braves and the Dodgers, who are pretty much up there every night. The Cubs have been the highest scoring offense in baseball since the All-Star break, and they're facing Carlos Carrasco, who has been just dreadful this season. So give me the Braves, give me the Dodgers, give me the Cubs, and those are the teams that you can stack a little bit easier if you're taking those cheaper pitchers tonight.
Very good. Dean, by the way, says he was not touting Milwaukee, or at least
no, I wasn't claiming he was, but I think both the other
was.
guy mentioned it, and I don't get it.
I threw him right under the bus, but had to clear that up.
No Dean slander here.
Yeah.
I assume everything he said was correct.
Yeah, always. All right, Cheese, what are you doing stack wise? And is it really different the way Cards is going with double cheap where you can get those guys, those premium teams? Are you trying to do that as well?
Kind of. Like it's not like sneaky is not the word. It's just that there's so many. Even if you do that, it's not even clear who that team is. It's like the Braves and the Dodgers will kind of split up ownership with the Yankees and the Red Sox, and the Cubs, and it's just kind of all over the place. Like I really don't see any chalk to worry about. So yes, I'm also I have more 2 cheap pitcher lineups or 1 cheap pitcher on FanDuel than I do Scherzer Valdez to get those teams. It's Braves, Dodgers, Cubs are my top 3, followed by the Yankees, and then just this weird mix of good teams against good pitchers, such as the Padres, the Mariners, the Rangers, the Blue Jays, the Mets. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, but the Houston, that general group of, I don't really expect any of them to be amazing because it's good pitching, but it's not great pitching either. And it's just, I would rather play a really good team than a really bad team.
Okay. I did see a few people saying they love the Rockies, which kind of stood out to me. Is there anything to love there? I thought they were kind of trash.
I have 2 Rocky stacks that I fully expect to lose badly with. They're definitely the worst team in the world. You could actually argue that Cleveland is worse than them against lefties, or actually Milwaukee on the other side. Like those teams are all horrendously horrible. But again, Wade Miley might only throw 4 innings still, maybe 5. And it's not like Wade Miley's amazing. Like if there's somebody on the slate other than Carrasco who can't strike out the Rockies, it would be Wade Miley.
Okay. That brings us to a little position by position here. So, Cheese, you want to start us off with some catcher talk?
I do. So as we do position by position, one thing I want to point out in general on DraftKings, almost everyone is really expensive that jumps out. Like yesterday it was filled with cheap bats that were not just cheap for the sake of cheapness, they're actually good. But today we have these pretty big gaps. Whereas on FanDuel, there's usually like 1 or 2 kind of 2 cheap guys at each position. So I'll try to differentiate between the sites.
Gotcha.
But at catcher, if you have money, I want all the Will Smith I can get. He's one of my favorite plays on the slate. William Contreras is fine. Sal Perez is fine. But outside of those guys, you're just kind of punting. I like Chad Wallach. You can get down to 2,100 and have a guy with some power. So basically, if I can get Will Smith or something, I'm just going super cheap.
Cards, what are you doing there?
Yeah, not a whole lot to add at catcher because same approach. Smith at 5,400 on DK. Contreras, I'm not on the Brewers, but William Contreras is the one guy that I would be comfortable with as a one-off play tonight, just because I don't like a whole lot else at the position. Not really playing any of the other Brewers, but I do think he's fine. Cal Raleigh is hitting cleanup against Nick Martinez. / whatever bullpen game the Padres are throwing out there tonight. He's always a decent bet for power. Otherwise, kind of those punt guys that Cheese mentioned would be fine if you just, especially if you're playing Scherzer or Valdez and you just don't have the salary here. Not necessarily a position you absolutely need to prioritize a spend.
Okay, first base.
All right. So this is the position where I probably would look to spend. Obviously, I've mentioned that I'm higher than most with my exposure to those big offenses tonight because I'm saving at pitcher. So obviously with my Atlanta focused lineups, I want to try to get Olsen here. With my Dodger focused lineups, I want to try to get Freeman here. Casas will probably be one of the better mid-range, or I should say more popular mid-range plays, given that he's hitting 5th against Singer. I'm not quite as high there. I think I would prefer to go even cheaper with Jake Bauers for the Yankees, who's both first base and outfield on both Fanduel and DraftKings right now. He's sub 3K on both sites as well. So he would be my value play there. Also like Bellinger a good bit tonight against the aforementioned hittable Carrasco. If you're on DK, they've got basically DraftKings has a bunch of Cubs eligible at first base. Now they've got Candelario at first base as well. He's still third base only on FanDuel, which is where I like him a little bit better tonight. So Freeman, Olsen, Bauers, Bellinger, maybe Brandon Belt as a value if you need it. Is pretty much my pool at first tonight.
Cheese, what are you doing at first?
Pretty similar. I like Olsen and Bellinger as the spend ups. I mean, by all means, play some Freeman, like Vlad on FanDuel and Belt on DK are both fine. I don't love the Blue Jays, but they each have a good pricing guy if you need him. Yeah, I also like Jake Bauers a good bit. Like, if you need to just full on punt and play like Dan Vogelbach on DK, you are legally allowed to do it. Or like Alfonso Rivas. How do you pronounce Rivas? It seems like it should be easy. Rivas. Thank you. Yeah. Alfonso Rivas. Like every once in a while I see these names and I know I can't say it. Like I don't mind the full all the way punt to a guy with some power like him or Vogelbach, because it's really hard to get Olsen, Bellinger, Freeman, and the mid-tier stuff on DK is not amazing. On FanDuel, I'm definitely not punting all the way down there when you can get something like Vlad for 3,200.
Okay, how about second base? Did we just do second base? Where are we at?
Oh, you're good.
We really didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, it's actually not as bad as we sometimes see, but it's expensive with the exception of Gleyber Torres on FanDuel, who's 3K. We do also have Trevor Story back in our lives tonight. I don't love him against Singer, but he's fine. Mookie Betts and Albies are the guys I absolutely love if you have money. Semien is okay. Who else do I like? Wilmer Flores, 2,800 on FanDuel is my favorite cheap guy there, cheap below Torres. And that is your position.
Card, second base.
Yeah, it's not that exciting. I can add Luis Rengifo to the mix. He's leading off for the Angels, and they're kind of facing a hybrid bullpen type game as well. They have not been playing good baseball, but I like him better on FanDuel. He's 2,600. He's over 4K on DraftKings. If you are struggling to fill the position, our buddy Catman from last week, Christopher Morel, is second base on FanDuel. And you agreed. He's Catman forever. Right. He is Catman with the eye black. And he also, I think he hit a homer his first at bat that night after I disparaged his eye black.
Yeah.
That's fine. I played him that. I like the Cubs a good bit tonight. So, and again, this coming from a Cardinals fan, liking the Cubs, that doesn't come out of my mouth on these shows super often. So, you can play Horner. I don't like as much. I don't think there's as much ceiling there. Morel obviously has the power. So those are a couple guys you can add primarily on FanDuel. In DraftKings, I am going to attempt to spend here because you don't have as much in terms of like Torres is 4,600 on DK. Rengifo is over 4K as well. So, just try to get up to one of the spends if you can. You could full on punt with like Pablo Reyes at 2,100, which if it makes the rest of your lineup work, I think is okay.
That was the tiltiest thing ever. A walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the ninth from Pablo Random Reyes. Get out.
37 fantasy points at 2K. He'll play pretty well. And clearly, since he did that last night, he's going to do it again.
It's bound to happen again.
Because that's how these things work. But, I mean, he is 2,100, and this is a tough position to punt. So, Michael Massey, I guess, because he's hitting third, but I am playing Crawford. Partly because Michael Massey's hitting third, so I'm not really on there. But I try to spend and get up to Albies if you can. Horner may be a little better on DraftKings if you're looking to stack Cubs, just because you don't have Morel at that position.
Gotcha. All right, how about third base?
All right, so again, the Cubs theme, I like Candelario a good bit. Third base is where I would play him on DraftKings, and he's reasonably affordable on FanDuel. Probably underweight on Devers tonight just because the ownership's going to be really high, and I'm just hopeful enough of Brady Singer to stay out of trouble. He's going to project as the number one overall guy, but in GPPs, I'm just going to take my shot on being underweight there. So Candelario, I like. Muncy hitting cleanup as the pivot at a similar price away from Devers in GPPs, I like. I think I'm out on Jose Ramirez at this point, even though Kikuchi has issues with power. Ramirez doesn't have the best splits this year against lefties. I just think if you're spending, I prefer Muncy would be my number one, and then I'd still even have Devers and probably Austin Riley as well over Ramirez. If you're looking to go cheaper here, not the best stats, and obviously he was out for a little while, but Brian Hayes against, basically a fill-in here for Atlanta, Chirinos tonight. He's 2,600 on FanDuel, 3,300 on DraftKings. Suarez, you can always, go home run hunting in GPPs. I don't mind Vientos from the Mets as like a complete punt. Talented prospect, hasn't been hitting very well of late, but he's basically min salary on every site, so he might be okay as a punt with some ceiling if he gets a hold of one.
Gotcha. All right, Cheese, your thoughts at third?
It would turn out that my highest owned player on DK is Candelario, kind of by a lot actually, which means I'm way under on Devers as well. I do like Max Muncy and Austin Riley a lot if you have salary. But yeah, also fine with like Suarez home run hunting. It's tempting to spend down, but I would rather not at third. I'd much rather do it almost any other position. On the FanDuel side, I'm not as high on Candelario. I'm going to have plenty, but he's like the same salary as like Manny Machado and only like 200 less than Devers and Muncy. So the Candelario is more of a DK thing. On FanDuel, basically Devers, Muncy, Machado, and even up to Riley is just not that hard to get.
All right, how about shortstop?
This turned into a weird position. We were going to have Willie Adames chalk, and he's out of the lineup because the Brewers are trying to not score tonight. I guess Francisco Lindor and Dansby Swanson are probably the chalk now, with Bobby Witt kind of right there with them. And then on FanDuel, both Trevor Story and Mookie Betts are shortstop eligible. I'm playing Betts more at shortstop. But I do like Lindor and Swanson a good bit. Swanson notably cheaper on FanDuel. You can kind of punt it on DK. You have the Pablo Reyes thing again. Maybe he'll hit his 8th career home run tonight. And he's been around for like 6 years. I don't know. The cheap stuff is bad. It's mostly in a stack. Like Brandon Crawford, Paul DeYoung, yeah, I don't know why you would do it on purpose. It's just at some point you run out of money, even with cheap pitchers. And I would say shortstop is one of the weaker positions up top. So just a nonsense punt for the sake of doing it is viable.
Yeah. All right, cards.
Yeah, pretty much agree on this is the game. Obviously, I'm high on the Cubs and I don't mind the Mets. So, those two teams going head to head tonight. We've got a 9.5 total in that game. And Lindor and Swanson are two of the highlights at the position. I wish the Yankees would move Volpe up from 8th. But, he's been doing better since kind of had the pressure lifted from him a little bit. I like him at 3K on DraftKings, even at the bottom of the order. And you could maybe, go with a few of the Yankees at the bottom of the order and then stack. If you're doing a stack, you could do, say, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3 or something like that. I think that's a reasonable approach in GPPs tonight. Otherwise, yeah, not much to add. Gabriel Arias as a potential punt against Kikuchi. He's in my multi-entry GPP pool, but not a primary play by any means.
All right, take me to the outfield.
All right. I think most people are probably going to go for 1 spend and 2 cheap-ish guys in the outfield tonight. So the spends would be obviously Acuna, Aaron Judge against a bad pitcher that walks a lot of guys. Bellinger, if you're not playing him at first, on DK, Stanton, and probably Yordan Alvarez, but I'm under on the Houston bats tonight. And then you're going to have some combination of cheap-ish plays. Bowers, who we also mentioned at first, you can play in the outfield. The Cubs have a couple of cheap guys, especially on DK and Tauchman and Happ, that have a whole bunch of colors in lineup HQ. Happ is a little more expensive, relatively speaking, on FanDuel. They're both over 3K on FanDuel, so I don't like them as much over there. Prefer them on DraftKings. I'm underweight on the Milwaukee guys, so I'll skip over them. You can get some value with Houston or with Pittsburgh as well against Chirinos. You've got Palacios leading off. He's basically free. Sawinski has a ton of pop, strikes out a lot, but facing a lower strikeout arm. I think Sawinski is okay as kind of a mid-range play as well. And I will save some for Cheese here.
Cheese, any other names?
There's a ton of names. I think just in general, I'm happy skipping the high-end guys as great as they are, just because outfield is so much deeper with mid-range and cheap plays than the other positions, especially on DK, but really even on FanDuel. Play Acuna and Judge and Tatis and Alvarez and Betts and all that, but with where the Cubs and guys like Sawinski, the cheap Brewers, if you want to do that, there's so much decent hitters that are essentially 3K range on DraftKings and well under 3K on FanDuel that I am okay not playing those expensive outfielders.
Okay, excellent. That brings us to some home run calls. And Cheese, I'm going to make you start. You got a tater for me? You got a bomb?
Yeah, Will Smith.
Oh, okay. All right. Cards, you got a name for me?
I probably have to take a Cub since I have been promoting them the most of the show. I'll go with
my other one's Candelario.
I'll go with Happ, who is Happ and Candelario both in about the mid 400s in terms of odds. Vientos at about plus 525 for the Mets as well, I think is a reasonable bet tonight.
Very good. We're going to get your questions. I'm going to start in the RotoGrinders Discord. I'll take some of those YouTube questions as well. But first, make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. If you are in Tennessee, Arizona, Colorado, or Illinois, you bet $5, you can get $150 in bonus bets. For those of you in Virginia, West Virginia, Indiana, and Iowa, and all other legal sports betting states, you can get a no-sweat first bet up to $2,000. Terms and conditions do apply. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up as a thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel, for making this show free. Let's take some QQs. Cheese, I was late to the party. What is your favorite pitcher pairing in a DK single entry?
Scherzer, Kikuchi, and or Kikuchi, Grayson Rodriguez.
Okay. We want Dean says, Cards, could you touch on a Colorado 1 through 4 stack? DK single entry. I can't stop playing Tovar, and I think lefty matchups will keep McMahon's ownership down.
Yeah, I mean, the words "can't stop playing Colorado" usually not in my vocabulary this year. So
Not even can't stop playing Colorado. Can't stop playing Tovar.
Okay, either way. Hey, maybe it's a Tovar family member, a Tovar stan, who knows? But you know,
This is Tovar? Is that?
it's just uncomfortable to get super excited about. Plus, you know, while Wade Miley's not great, Milwaukee does have probably one of the deeper bullpens and one of the better back end bullpens in baseball. So with Miley kind of just coming back, you know, they're not going to. I think this is his second start, maybe third. He hasn't thrown a lot of innings since he's come back, and they're not going to push him, you know, beyond probably 5 innings. If the game is competitive, which it should be, because hopefully I don't expect the Brewers to go nuts tonight with their lineup, you're probably going to get the good middle relievers for Milwaukee, and Colorado just not a team away from home. Like at Coors, I'd maybe get a little semi-excited here, but their team total is 3.5. That is the second lowest, maybe third lowest on the slate. I just can't get there.
Okay, fair enough. Favorite low-owned stack? I'll let you each answer this one. Cards, you can go first.
When you factor in ownership, frankly, I don't think the Braves are going to be mega popular tonight because of their price and because people still are respecting Keller. So don't sleep on the Braves. Lower ownership than what they usually have tonight. But officially, I'll take the Mets.
Okay, Cheese?
I will give you an answer, but I want to say every stack is low owned. Like there, if you have a favorite stack, you should not fade it because of ownership, because ownership is not that much of a thing. But if you definitely want to be sneaky, I would say the Angels.
Okay, great. Let's see. Fanduel Cash, Cheese, Yoshida or Duran, and who's a better punt, McKinney or Canha?
I prefer McKinney over Canha. I guess I would go Duran out of that first question.
Okay. We'll go to Razzle Dazzle. He says, Cards, can I play Valdez and Scherzer in DK Cash? And is Wallach the best catcher under 2,300?
You got to play Scherzer in Cash. I don't think that's even a question.
So this is, can I play Valdez and Scherzer in
Cash? Both of them
DK.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. It might make you sacrifice your bats too much. I don't think that ends up being optimal tonight. I think I'm on Scherzer and one of the cheap guys. It's not necessarily horrible, but I'm probably not doing that in terms of where it leaves my salary. And if you're if you've got 2,300, I think I prefer Connor Wong as a punt in Cash. But if I had to choose one of like the bottom 3, it's probably Wallach, but that is saying almost nothing really.
Gotcha. Okay. We'll go to internet famous questions. Cheese, DK single entry, Bowers, McKinney, or Palacios, and one of McCutcheon, Sawinski.
First of all, congrats on the fame there on the internet. I like McKinney and Bowers a little better, but it's very close.
Okay. Right back to you, Cheese here. DK GPP, a better one-off. It's Betts or Judge?
I mean, yes. I prefer Betts, but I mean, just yes.
Okay. Cards, over to you from the Grinch. DK GPP, Torres or Horner? Torres or Horner?
Probably.
See, I got you with
Torres.
that, not being able to pronounce Rivas. Now you're like Torres?
Yeah, I don't know how I messed that one up.
That's my fault. That's my fault.
I prefer Torres unless it's a Cubs stack.
Okay. All right. DK single entry 3v3 cards. Stacking Dodgers with a mini Cubs stack. Crawford, Rosario, Canha, or Tyon, Swanson, Hayward.
Yeah, I got the stacks. Read me the 3v3 one more time.
Crawford, Rosario, Canha, or Tyon, Swanson, Hayward.
Oof. I'd probably go the first one, and I'd swap out Canna for one of the similarly priced guys there, like Palacios or something.
Very good. Cheese Snow Fighter says, I need 2 cheap pitchers, DK, 7,500 or lower each, I suppose.
Yeah, my
Not
favorite
average.
there is Grayson Rodriguez. And then it's super close. Like Sears, Singer, Schmidt, and Miley are like essentially a tie. Officially, I'm going to say Schmidt, but like I have like zero conviction between those 4.
Okay, that's fair. Jay Sam says, hey, Cheese, on FanDuel, if I'm spending down a pitcher, is it crazy to then leave 1,300 on the table in a GPP?
Not quite. It's a little silly. Like I ended up on it. I had a couple lineups where like that was kind of the thing. And yet I always found something I would rather do. Crazy, no. Silly, yes.
Okay, that's a good distinction. New Generation says, Cards, FanDuel GPP, it's a 2v2 for you. Kikuchi, Will Smith, or Crawford Acuna?
That's a FanDuel question.
Yep.
Yeah, I would take the Acuna pairing.
Okay. Next question for your Cards. DK, single entry GPP. Pick 2 of these pitchers, Miley, Tyon, Crawford, Kikuchi.
The last 2 for me.
Okay, Crawford, Kikuchi it is. FanDuel Cash, Cheese, 3v3. Story Judge Stanton or Andrews, Mookie, Muncy?
I want to get Mookie and Muncy in there, so I go that way.
Okay, great. Thoughts on Giolito, Cheese, or would you play Sears instead, FanDuel GPP?
Giolito over Sears.
Okay, very good. Jumping into the YouTube, make sure you hit us with a like YouTube channel. Could be Travis says, hey, Roth, question for Cards. Was Tukey included in your pitcher pool when you were looking for a cheapie?
Definitely not for me.
Okay. Morgan O says, Cheese, what are your thoughts on Boston in general? I would like your thoughts on the team and the city, if you don't mind.
There's a lot to do, a lot of history. I don't know if you ever heard of this Paul Revere character. He was a trip. I just, in general, and tonight, just don't love them as much as the field tends to. It's better. Story coming back makes a pretty big difference. I'm going to kind of wait and see on him, though. I don't love them tonight. I don't love them in general, but they're obviously good.
Okay. I went to Boston once in college, and I went to this house party, and everyone kept trying to fight me, and I didn't. How about I break this bottle on your face? I was like, why? Why
Do they
would
call
you do
you
that?
Guy a lot? That's my favorite part is people call you Guy. Hey,
Yeah, I was like,
Guy.
I'm not sure why everyone's so mad here. It was
You want another Boston tidbit?
Please.
They are 22-4 all time, and they've won 10 in a row when they wear their new City Connect uniforms, which I'm sure Cardi would appreciate.
Are they wearing them tonight? I saw.
They are.
Okay.
They are wearing their City Connect uniforms tonight, and they have won 10 in a row, highlighted by that grand slam walk-off by Reyes last night.
They are sharp.
So
I mean, I'm a fan of interesting uniforms.
I do like their. I'm not a fan of Baltimore's City Connect uniforms. They're pretty plain. But anyway, I have sidetracked.
Okay. All right, that works. People were talking about it in the YouTube chat, so it is noted. Let's see. Darren Unger in the YouTube says, FanDuel Cash. Cards, you want Devers, Duran, or Muncy, Tauchman?
I would take the second one, but that's pretty even.
Okay. Julius says, hey, thanks for all your help over the years, guys. You're welcome. Are you mixing in any Royals cards in your high-end Dodgers Brave stacks?
I am not. I am much higher on the Boston pitcher tonight, so hopefully the Royals do not do much.
Okay. Anthony says, DK Cash, Cheese, Singer, or Crawford, and why?
Crawford. Like, they're very similar pitchers. And as much as I said I don't love Boston, they're a tougher matchup than KC. So it's simply about the matchup. Skill set similar, take the better matchup.
Okay, great. J3 says, hey, good show. Love the knowledge from 2 DFS vets, 2 OGs right here. Yeah, happy to bring it to you. Aaron says, are we nervous about this Boston losing streak? I don't know what that means.
They hit a walk-off grand slam last night, so it's over.
Yeah, they've won 10 in a row with the City Connects. That losing streak, schmoozing streak. Get
We
out
got
of
a
here.
winning streak going in these unis. Let's see. Alan says Gilbert or Giolito straight up. Cards, you want Gilbert or Giolito straight up?
Yeah, I am not on Gilbert tonight. Give me Giolito.
Chris Kirkwood says, settle down, guys. Is Kirkwood from Boston? Is he a Boston?
He is.
Oh, he's so nice.
He's a Boston.
How
Well,
gutless
I don't
is
know if
that
he's
to
from
live in
Boston, but
of
he's
all
a
places?
Boston.
He's not.
It's
like
actually
what I
the
pictured.
opposite of gutless. It takes tremendous guts to walk around there and not just get punched in the face for no reason.
Get a bottle broken over your head, guy. John says, any good? Oh, we're not doing that. BVP uniform parlays. That's probably. We'll save that one for Cardi. DK Cash, Cheese, Kikuchi or Crawford?
Kikuchi.
Cheese, FanDuel Cash, Betts, Muncie or Belly Hap?
Betts Muncie.
Aside says FanDuel GPP cards. You want Crawford or spend the extra 200 for Gio?
I like Crawford a good bit, but on FanDuel, I would probably play Giolito over him because Giolito's so cheap.
Okay, a lot of people asking that exact question. So you,
if you need the $200, I'm fine with Crawford. If you have the $200 to spend, I would play Giolito.
very good. DK Cash cards. Stanton McKinney or Tauchman Hap?
Yes, I would take the Cubs pairing.
Okay, we have a great post lock question, and lock just hit, so we will get to that in 1 second. Your favorite angel cheese on DK from Sugar Ray?
Given the salary and the position, it's Chad Wallach.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get this this post lock question here, which is, Cheese, I was recently spending some time in the RotoGrinders Academy and was looking at a video with you and JM to win. Nice guy. I really like that dude.
Man.
Does it still hold in your opinion that 3v3 or a lineup with mini stacks in them has a higher ceiling and a higher floor versus full stacks with all the rule changes since you made that content? That doesn't sound like you.
Well, no. So a full stack, absolutely never has the actual highest ceiling. Like, if you could just have the stats in hand after the slate and make the highest scoring lineup, it will never, ever be a stack. It's the collection of the people that hit the most home runs.
Right, right.
So that's kind of where that thought comes from. But so in general, those videos that he's talking about with GM to win, I think were from 2015 or maybe 2016. And everything about the people who played DFS, your opponents, is totally different now. And like the size of the contests, like the industry is just a totally different place now. So yes, I mean, definitely for sure, mini stacks with the highest power guys has a higher ceiling than stacks for sure, like with no question. But that was also made pre 150 max lineups where you could do more combos and you would see more combos. To me, that's one of the biggest reasons you don't have to shoot for the crazy ceiling anymore. Is the top players, no one has more than 150 lineups in any tournament, period. You used to be playing against good players with 500 lineups, where you playing 10 stacks of the Braves is irrelevant and silly. So
because they've got 100 stacks of the Braves, so you can't.
Right. So it really is just a different world that we live in a lot of ways. So it's more full stacking now than it was in, I think that was 2015.
Interesting.
But the technical answer is, I mean, yes, 3-3 or mini stacks or even one-offs absolutely has a higher ceiling than any full stack.
Sure. Okay. Are you telling me that like 8 years ago there was no 150 max?
No, that's only 3 years old. I mean, it used to be, I mean, the top players now, back then, I mean, you would have people with 700-800 lineups.
Ah, I never knew that. All right. Interesting. Hey, I think that's a good note to end it on. Excellent show. Hit us with a little thumbs up on our way out, if you don't mind. It gets more eyeballs. We're trying to keep the show free for as long as possible. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Bye.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye. So for Cheese, for Cards, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.